Mark, where do you think we're heading by the president leaving the G7 early and making it clear it's about what's happening with Iran?
Well, the president seems to have been very clear. I mean, every 30 minutes, every hour, you've got comments coming from the president, the White House, warning the Iranians that they've run out of time. I mean, he's made them multiple offers, peaceful opportunities in Oman. I think we're moving from Oman to Fordo, which is where the deeply buried bunker enrichment site is. And I think President Trump may be preparing U.S. forces to strike that.
So the one thing that was with the Jerusalem Post yesterday, and it was mentioned by the ambassador today, the editor said, oh, yeah, we can't do that without the U.S. It's just, there's no way. I mean, there could be a human situation where you have some people there that allow them to penetrate deep with I guess, a strike team that could take it down. But wouldn't that be a suicide mission? Yeah,
I mean, listen, the Israelis can certainly do damage. They've done massive damage to the rest of Iran's nuclear infrastructure. But if this site remains, Brian, this is deeply buried under a mountain, heavily fortified. Iran can use this site to develop nuclear weapons. The United States has B-2 bombers and 30,000-pound massive ordnance penetrators that can slice through mountains and through concrete and destroy this last remaining nuclear weapons facility. The president of the United States has that opportunity. And Khamenei's last chance, if he doesn't go to Amman and start negotiating seriously to permanently dismantle his program, I think President Trump may destroy it for him.
So this is what we hear from Arab intermediaries. They say Iran is not ready to make concessions on nuclear talks. The public statements from Iranian leaders support the claim by Arab intermediaries as well that the president of Iran continues to threaten severe responses if the U.S. failed to restrain Israel and separately defended Iran's right to peacefully have nuclear energy and research. They're acting like this military operation is not happening, that they haven't lost 9 commanders, most of their key scientists, and their Quds Force intelligence officers.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. I mean, they think President Trump is bluffing. They don't think he's going to use military force, because if they did, they would be immediately back at the negotiating table looking for a deal that permanently dismantles this program, because the Israelis and the U.S. Air Force can permanently dismantle this program from the air.
So the president of the United States has noticed what's going on. He had a heads up going in. And now there's some speculation that the Iranians feel like they were duped, that the president said, I gave you 60 days, but we did have a meeting scheduled for Sunday. And that along the way, Israel was planning to do this all along, and that the U.S. was complicit in the deception. I don't see it that way. I think if they came across and said, we will have a consortium to enrich uranium outside the country, it would have put all kinds of pressure on the U.S. to go ahead and do a deal.
Absolutely. I mean, the president gave them an offer. He gave them an offer that they could temporarily
put it on a white paper.
He put it on a white paper. He offered it in Oman. Steve Witkoff was there with the lead Iran negotiator, Arakchi. It was an offer. You can temporarily enrich. We're going to build you a joint enrichment facility. You can have fuel rods for your civilian nuclear energy program. But if you don't do this, President Trump has been clear, Brian, since his first term, that he will not let Iran develop nuclear weapons. It's shocking to me that Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader, thinks the president is bluffing and didn't take the deal that was offered just a couple of weeks ago.
And so far he hasn't taken it yet. How much damage do you think Israel has done? And you're reading some of the accounts of their early operations. This thing was well planned.
It's extraordinary. I mean, this is probably one of the greatest deception operations ever run by a military. I mean, other examples are the 1967 war, the operations in World War II at Normandy. I think that the deep penetration of the Iranian security establishment by Israel has clearly led to devastating blows. I mean, there was false communications through the Iranian system. They managed to gather the entire IRGC Aerospace Command together in a meeting and killed all of them. I mean, this is the command structure responsible for ballistic missile firing. Mossad has been operating on the ground for many years. Sleeper cells, drones have been set up. I mean, they're devastating the military security and nuclear infrastructure. And it's just, again, shocking to me that Khamenei doesn't understand that Israel probably can do most of it and that the United States could end it all.
Mark, how would you, some were disappointed, and maybe I think their expectations were too high, that between 10 and 15% of these rockets into Israel getting through, when you have 2 levels of the Arrow system, you got the Iron Dome, you got David Sling, you have a laser system. People thought, well, they're fine. But some of these rockets have gotten through. As an expert in the field, are you surprised?
I'm not surprised. I mean, the success ratio has always been about 90%, and so 10% that get through. The Iranians have a ballistic missile inventory of 3,000 missiles. Of 2,000 of them can reach Israel. They probably fired already 450 ballistic missiles. Some have gotten through. I mean, these, Brian, are devastating missiles with 1 and 2 ton warheads. And the only consolation is that they're conventional right now. Iran, it was poised to develop nuclear warheads. Nuclear tipped missiles would have devastated Israel for forever.
And just judging by the fact that they're going for civilian targets, what makes you think that they would not put nuclear tips on the ends of those rockets?
Well, Khamenei has made clear over and over again that his goal is to destroy Israel, to wipe Israel, quote, off the face of the earth. And so one should always take these threats from these genocidal, theocratic fanatics seriously. That is why Israel is acting preemptively. And Khamenei had given the order to his nuclear weapons scientists to develop the warhead, the last remaining element that he needed for a deliverable nuclear weapon. That is why Israel had to preemptively strike.
I did hear some reports late last night, not confirmed, obviously, that there is some movement for the Ayatollah and some others to move over to Russia. I mean, that seems to be where everyone goes these days. Would you look for that? I mean, especially if he sees himself having a Gaddafi-like ending to his reign?
It's interesting. He actually has never left the country in his entire life. It would be actually ironic if the first time he ever leaves.
He's 85 years old.
Yes, he's 85, 86 years old, and the first time he ever leaves would be to escape the Israelis, who he has called the Little Satan, and to escape the Americans, who he has called the Great Satan.
Couple of things, just real quick on the Ukraine situation. Zelensky's done some really great things too with drones, but it looks like the Russians are not letting up. Where's this conflict heading?
Yeah, this conflict just keeps going on. The Ukrainians are fighting bravely. They're showing incredible ingenuity with this drone operation against Russia's strategic bombers. And I think this conflict will drag on unless we give the Ukrainians the long-range systems to strike Russian forces that have been mobilizing on the Russian-Ukrainian border. President Trump has been doing everything possible to end this bloody conflict. Vladimir Putin has been recalcitrant. He's been refusing to do so. And unless the United States and Ukraine have leverage, I'm afraid it's going to drag on.
Last two questions. Number one, if it was your decision and the president said, what should I do? Would you provide the bunker busters to allow Fordo to be exposed?
Well, the bunker busters can only be delivered by B-2 bombers or perhaps by C-130s. So it'll be a hugely risky operation for the Israelis to drop a bunker buster on Fordo from a C-130. They've got to actually take out all the air defenses. Otherwise, that C-130 is a sitting duck. I think you either provide it to the Israelis, who will take that mission. The Israelis may have some tricks up their sleeve, but at the end of the day, the B-2 bombers of the U.S. Air Force have been training for this mission for years. And I think this could be really America's victory, President Trump's victory, and a message to the Chinese, the Russians, and the North Koreans that the United States is back after President Biden's devastating withdrawal from Afghanistan, which undermined credibility.
Yes. And also, would you let the Senate pass the sanctions bill to put more sanctions on Russia?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I mean, we got to put devastating sanctions again on Russia in order to increase our negotiating leverage, to send a message, Vladimir Putin, do a deal or there's going to be more pain.
Mark Dubowitz, thanks so much for the CEO of Foundation for Defense of Democracies. It's going to be an interesting time, and I'm with you on both those decisions.